agreed on the need for an international presence in Kosovo. His statement received a cautious welcome from the United Nations and from NATO leaders who are gathering for a summit meeting in Washington. In Belgrade itself, the two main channels of Serbian state radio and television have gone off the air after being hit by NATO bombs. The Serbian Deputy Information Minister, Miodrag Popovic, told the BBC that up to 100 people were in the building at the time.
If Serbian television is spreading propaganda, then NATO believes it is a legitimate target. As the state-run RTS station played out another rerun of Slobodan Milosevic's interview with an American channel, the alliance intervened. The Yugoslav president froze, and then the interview crashed off the air as a massive explosion was reported at the central Belgrade building.
This is a vandalism, incredible barbarism. Can you imagine bombarding of the buildings of BBC, Sky News, CNN? Journalists, all over the world now must raise up the voice of protest to protect profession. Today, Belgrade TV, tomorrow, BBC World.
Radio Television Serbia has been broadcasting around the clock. That being the case, some so-called collateral damage appears likely. Originally, the alliance had demanded airtime from the Serbs for its side of the argument. But that was quickly forgotten, and instead NATO explained that if TV transmitters were being used by the Serbs for its oppression in Kosovo, then they would be struck. NATO's unrelenting bombardment followed the latest Russian effort to broker a diplomatic breakthrough. Special Envoy Viktor Chernomyrdin arrived back in Moscow after a day in Belgrade. Earlier, he had declared that President Milosevic had indicated he would accept a United Nations-led international presence in Kosovo. Paul Royal, BBC News.
In Washington, meanwhile, President Clinton has commented on the Russian disclosure of a possible solution to the current crisis in Kosovo. Mr. Clinton said that if confirmed, it would be a welcome first step.
If there is an offer for a genuine security force, that's the first time that Mr. Milosevic has ever done that, and that represents, I suppose, some step forward. My interest here is in something that will work, that will have the support of the parties. My belief is that the members of our alliance want us all to be able to go in there, and that the Kosovo Albanians want to feel protected and will expect us to be there. I have always said from the very beginning that I would hope that there would be Russian troops there, Ukrainian troops there, troops from Slavic countries, from Orthodox Christian countries, because I would not entertain going into Kosovo unless our mandate was to protect all the people there, including the Serb minority.
And just a few hours later, British Prime Minister Tony Blair kept up the hardline rhetoric, telling an audience in Chicago that NATO must prevail against President Milosevic.
This is, I believe, a just war, based not on any territorial ambitions, but on good, decent values. We cannot let the evil of ethnic cleansing stand. We must not rest until it is reversed. We have learnt twice before in this century that appeasement does not work. If we let an evil dictator range unchallenged, we will have to spill infinitely more blood and more treasure to stop him later. But people want to know not only that we are right to take this action, but also that we have clear objectives and that we are going to succeed.
Well, so far, NATO has given no response to the bombing of the television and radio stations in Belgrade. Our defense correspondent Mark Leahy, who's in Washington, says it may be a sign of a new strategy in the campaign.
There's been various toings and froings in previous weeks about whether they should bomb radio and television for its own purpose. And I think one of the things we'll have to find out is whether they've attacked the studio proper, whether they were going for a relay station or the television transmitter because they think it's being used for military purposes as well. That we don't know. It's possible that they've decided that the best way to take the war to the people and show them that it's serious, that it is affecting Serbia as a whole, is to take them off the air. But it may also be that they'll be saying tomorrow that that television transmitter also contains relays, sites for military material. We just don't know.
Let's talk about the NATO summit, the 50th anniversary NATO summit. Prime Minister Tony Blair was saying earlier in Chicago, was stressing the importance of showing a united front. Is NATO going to be able to do that at this 50th anniversary summit? Are there any dissenting voices?
No, not at the level they're talking. I mean, I think the summit works on the lowest common denominator, like a convoy proceeding at the speed of the slowest ship. So they're going to make sure that the summit is discussing and publicly discussing the things that they can agree on. And they do agree on quite a lot. They agree on maintaining the air campaign. They agree on the basic conditions for ending the war, that there has to be a full withdrawal of all Serb forces, that all refugees have to return, that there has to be an international security force which will have NATO at its core, although they might not speak about that publicly, and so on. Now those things they all agree on. How they win that war, whether you need ground troops, that kind of thing, that's for the future. So they'll agree on what they can agree and leave some of the things which are more difficult until the future.
There has been much talk, much media speculation of the need for some kind of ground force operation in Kosovo. You say that they're going to leave that. It's not possible then that the ground will be prepared for putting together some sort of ground force at this summit?
Well, I'm sure they'll be discussing it, but I think it's just far too early. I just don't think they're ready for it. United States is split within itself. It's evident that President Clinton is very cautious. The United States is the leader of this alliance, and if the United States is unsure, then nothing's going to happen. I think Britain is in the vanguard of those who want to open up the debate. But there's other nations, Italy, Greece, and so on, who are a long way behind the drag curve on that one. So I think it will be discussed, but I don't think they're going to agree on anything. I think the summit is a catalyst for debate rather than a defining moment on this particular issue.
Mark Leahy in Washington. Well, as we heard a few moments ago, the Serbian TV station RTS has been taken off the air by the latest night of airstrikes against Yugoslavia. The air campaign is now in its second month and is taking an increasing toll on the Serb economy. The BBC's World Affairs editor John Simpson is in Belgrade.
There's no doubt about the damage that a month of bombing has done to Yugoslavia. Some people are saying it's reduced the country to the level it was at in 1945. 500 people are said to have been killed, though the government consistently fails to produce detailed figures. As for the cost of the damage, it is clearly immense. To get some idea of the amount, we visited Belgrade's elegant city hall, once a royal palace, which was bombed twice in each of the world wars, but has so far escaped damage in this one. It's controlled not by President Milosevic, but by his former political enemies, now in uneasy coalition with him. Milan Božić is the mayor. Like everyone in his party, he puts a little distance between himself and President Milosevic.
The damage is something between 20 and 40 billion of dollars. Of course, it strongly depends on how do you evaluate it.
But the government isn't saying these things, is it? Why not?
There is a fear that the public will react badly to such information. We here in Belgrade, we don't believe so. Quite the opposite. We do believe the well-informed citizen is the best defender of the nation.
But how well informed are they about the reasons for the destruction that's being visited on them? Not very, it seems. NATO insists that ordinary Serbs aren't its targets, and yet it's taken an entire month to start hitting at the interests of President Milosevic himself, like the party offices in the building behind me, for instance. Life is harder and more expensive, yet Yugoslavia is self-sufficient in food, and only citrus fruits are in short supply at present. NATO doesn't want to hurt ordinary people, but it does want them to turn against their president. It's a fundamental contradiction. According to this man, it's the will of one person who's standing up against the whole world. After a month of bombing, that's as far as anyone here is prepared to go. John Simpson, BBC News, Belgrade.
Away from Belgrade, Serb and Albanian soldiers have exchanged fire across the Kosovo-Albanian border as a new wave of refugees begins to move from Kosovo into the northern Albanian town of Kukës.
Imagine being thrown out of your home by armed men who don't give you time to pack. Imagine seeing your home burned down behind you and being forced out onto the open road. Imagine running the gauntlet of more men with guns who hate you, perhaps beat you, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. These people going into Albania from Kosovo, the first big group to cross here since Sunday, experienced all of that.
We see dead people, everything.
Serb police watched them leave the land Belgrade believes has to be free of Albanians. These are people who've been walking for days, for hundreds of miles, scared out of their wits, wondering if they'll even get through alive. Most of them were from the town of Mitrovica. Haradin Voce, who crossed with his wife Julia and his 4 children, was still very shaken. He said Serb police had terrified the children by making him lie on the road with a gun on him for an hour. When they let him go, they stole his shoes. Doctors at the border treated blisters and much more. A pregnant woman seemed to be going into labor. And, waiting his turn, Isat Istogu, in pain because he was beaten with a rifle, but crying because in the confusion he was separated from his wife and children, and he doesn't know where they are. The people, exhausted children, kept on coming, more are waiting to cross this tense border. On their side, Serb troops were reinforcing their positions. The aid agencies are trying much harder to move people out of Kukës to make room for the new arrivals, but it's hard to persuade them. After so much suffering, Kukës feels safe. They don't want another leap into uncertainty. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, Northern Albania.
Now other news. Police in Denver have found more bombs hidden inside the school where 2 teenagers shot dead 13 people. Earlier, they began questioning the friends and relatives of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who ended the shooting by turning their guns on themselves. Police say they're looking at the possibility that other pupils at Columbine High School were also involved.
A prayer vigil in a spring blizzard. Local people still coming to terms with the tragedy at Columbine High School. There's now a shrine close to the school where, incredibly, 2 more homemade bombs were found today. Counseling continues for the 1,800 students, most of all for the families of the 12 pupils and 1 teacher murdered by the 2 teenage gunmen. The victims have now been named. Among them, Cassie Bernal, a member of the Bible